Welcome, everyone. We're going to talk about level 6 balance beam, one of my favorite events to judge. To determine the start value for level 6, you need at least 5 A value parts, 1 B, for a total of 6 value parts. 1 restricted dance element of a C value is allowed, and that C receives a B value. Consider these in chronological order of the routine. The level 6 special requirements include 4 components at 5/10 each. The first is a non-flight acro series that must begin and end on the beam, or an acro flight element, either isolated or in a connection. A leap or a jump that requires a 180-degree cross or side split, a minimum of a 360-degree turn on one foot, and an aerial or salto dismount, a minimum of an A. No hand placement is allowed on this dismount. When there is a dismount of no value part, you will deduct 0.3 from the start value, in addition to the 0.5 for missing the special requirement of a minimum of an A aerial or salto dismount. When you think about no value part dismounts, these include a dismount of no value at all, one that's not even listed in the Dev Code of Points, a restricted element. And when there's a restricted element performed as the dismount, be sure to take the additional 0.5 from the start value for the restricted value part. If the athlete leaves the apparatus, that is, she terminates early, whether it's intentionally or through a fall, remember to take off the 0.5 for the fall. And if she never initiates a salto or an aerial and simply falls, be sure to take the 0.5 for the fall. Exceptions to the no value part rule, where you would not take 0.3 from the start value, are when she initiates a salto or an aerial and she falls without landing on the bottom of her feet first. So she's not going to get a value part for that. You do take the fall, but you do not take the 0.3 for no dismount. If the coach spots the dismount, be sure to take off the additional 0.5 for the spot. And if the dismount has a value part, but it's not a salto or an aerial, do not take the 0.3 deduction from the start value for no dismount. There's no composition for level 6, but remember to take the general deductions that are execution and amplitude deductions for non-value part movements throughout the exercise. Up to 0.2 for insufficient variation in rhythm and tempo in non-value part movements. That is a lack of fluid connection, a series of disconnected elements or movements. Up to 0.2 for insufficient sureness. What we like to do is put a CP before each element when the athlete pauses. But if she doesn't go all the way to the 1 gymnastics, 2 gymnastics, where you take the 0.1 for the concentration pause, then cross out your CP. And at the end of the routine, look at all the crossed out CPs that you have. You have up to 0.2 then to look at that as insufficient sureness. Insufficient dynamics are up to 0.2. We're looking for showing energy throughout the routine and making difficult skills look effortless. Up to 0.3 for relaxed or incorrect footwork on non-value parts throughout. So when they have the leg swing over mount, that's not really a skill. You can't take for flex feet at that point. You just mark that there was footwork. And then at the end of the routine, if she's walked across the beam, not in releve, and had little things like the mount that I mentioned, then at the end, you're going to say up to 0.3 for relaxed or incorrect footwork. You have up to 0.3 for incorrect body alignment, position, or posture, making sure that her shoulders remain above her hips at all times. And then up to 0.3 for insufficient artistry. Your favorite 3 letters together, CPE. Consider choreography, which includes tapping of the foot at the end of the beam for the spatial awareness, personal style, and expression, or the lack thereof, for your up to 0.3 for insufficient artistry. For execution deductions, we have the new 0.3 landing the dismount in the solid or loose foam pit. Remember, no value part or special requirement is awarded for this. A flat 0.1 for landing too close to the beam on the dismount. You have a max of 0.4 for all steps. You have 0.1 for small, 0.15 for medium, and then 0.2 for your large yardstick size step, up to a max of 0.4 for all steps on the landings. Up to 0.1 for arm swings to maintain balance. That applies also to stuck landings. And no matter how many times she swings her arms, it's up to 0.1. Up to 0.3 for squat on the landing. If you look at the diagram below where she has her hips and knees at horizontal, that is no deduction. We consider that a safe landing. And then as she goes farther with her hips going closer, closer, closer to her heels, you have 0.1, 0.2, up to 0.3 in the squat on the landing. If she falls after the squat, remember to add 0.5 for the landing deduction of the fall in addition to the squat. A clarification on non-flight walkover type elements: the athlete is required to show a 180-degree split of the legs at one point during the element, whether it's the beginning, the middle, it doesn't matter. But if she does not have a 180-degree split at one point, be sure to take up to 0.2 for insufficient split. New elements and descriptions. We have kind of a back straddle over type B mount, a new front walkover exit out of the jump press or swing to press handstand, the stag or double stag jump in place, also with a quarter turn for an A. Remember though that these are all considered the same element, whether she does a single or a double stag. We have a side leap for a B, then hitch kicks forward or backward, cat leaps with legs turned in or out or parallel, and then a cabriole. All of these are considered different elements. But what's considered the same element, a stretch jump, an arch jump, or a beat jump, are all considered the same element. We also have a stretch jump half from a cross or a side position for an A. And again, remember your non-flight walkover type elements are required to show that 180-degree split at one point.